Okay, I'm working on the 1958 Williams shortstop deluxe, and I've been going through a lot of trying to write down whether the switches are open or closed, or whether they're make and break, and then which part of the make and break is open and closed on all the switches. So when I read the schematic and when I look at everything, I can have a little better idea of how the machine works. But I've been researching this relay bank reset assembly to see how it works, and I've come up with this right here. I've got it down that the solenoid pulls in. That right there, it pulls in, and the arm gets a little taller because when it pulls in, it just forces that bar up. So that's the reset bar. And so that gets longer when this pulls over. See how it goes up? And the bar goes on, it catches on all these little things sticking out. They all got some sticking out. So the bar catches on that and pushes them up. The rest are already latched, as they call it in pinball. So that pushes up, and that little thing in there, it's actually made of brass. And it's called the brass flap assembly. It's all that there. Each one has this little thing on it. That's what pushed on the switchblades. Yeah, and that whole little assembly there. Up here, I highlighted it. That whole little assembly there. The little bar on top, the rod going up, and this thing going back. And then this hole in the bottom here. When they make that slot, when they punch press it, that hole doesn't get punched all the way out of there. It goes down. Kind of goes down. And that's where it kind of catches the plate from the coil. And that's the area where it latches. And then when the coil pulls in, the plate has that little tab on top. It unlatches. And the plate has a little tab on the bottom that goes through these slots, these holes. And the back of the brass flap assembly that has that little rod on it. These, when they get back to the back of the framework, they go in those two holes right there. That one right there and the one right there. So these frames are special for each game because they have different amount of relays on them. Mine has 6 coils, and each coil has a double switch stack on top. And so mine would have 12, except right there. You can see the one that's not there, that's for the match system. Otherwise, it'd be 2 there, 2 there. It would be 2 there. So that's 2, 4, 6, and then it's another 2, 4, 6 on this side. Each pair of switch stacks are for 1 coil. And so, back to what I was getting here. So the reset bar catches the tab sticking out on that thing they call the brass flap assembly, and it like I showed you over here, it latches them all together from this big solenoid, and then they're all latched, and when each coil pulls in during the game, it trips them. The brass bar catches the tab sticking out on the brass flap as the bar and flap assembly push up together. The little rounded shaft on the brass, the little rounded shaft on the brass flap assembly push up on the longer switch blade, changing the state of the switches that are in. When the solenoid pulling in and when the solenoid's pulling in and the reset bar is at the highest point, the relay coil trip plate latches. The relay coil trip plate latches for any of the unlatched brass plate tabs. Those things. Each brass flap assembly lifts up 2 switch stacks on the shortstop anyway. There are 6 relay coils screwed to the frame. Each relay coil has 2 switch stacks. Now, from the coin box back, we get this is on the shortstop deluxe from 1958. They for some reason have 2 game overs. They got labeled game over A relay, game over B relay. On the schematic, sometimes they don't put the A on because it's the first one, but they do put the B on all of them. And then there's 2 switch stacks for the tilt. There's only 1 switch stack for the match. We're going back towards the head now. You got the second coin relay and you got the second batter relay. Because on this machine, they don't have a stepper to switch people. They have relays do it, switch the scoring to an... I haven't studied everything on that yet, but I do know it does not have a stepper to switch players. It's only a 2-player game. If it was a 4-player game, I'm sure it would have a stepper, but it does not have a stepper to switch batters. And so when I look at these, you can see, you look in there and you see it's hard to see, and if I pull these screws out, well then maybe it would be easier to see, but then you don't have this, then you don't have the thing pushing against it anymore. So maybe I will unscrew these screws, I don't know. But so I read the schematic yesterday, and from the schematic I got all these notes I took down. This was on game over relay A. This is on more on the game over. This is on game over relay B. This is on the tilt relay. And so, in other words, I took notes for each of the relays. And on the schematic, it definitely, when it labels the relay, you know, as long as it's one of those, then it's on the bank relay thing. So So if it's on that, I found out when I seen how many make and break switches this had, I needed something so I could try to see that they're in the closed state or the open state the way they are when I file them and clean them. So I got this off the schematic. It would show a make and break or a normal one. Pretty easy to tell. Have a 3-pole or just on a straight line on a series with just, you know, a straight line on a series with a switch in. It's pretty easy to tell compared to a make and break with the switch having 3 blades and going down on the schematic to another parallel circuit. So I took these notes down, and then from the notes I took down, I tried to put that this one's a make and break, this one's a make and break, this one's just a normal 2-blade switch. So instead of having to look at it all that, and then I put it all the way down to putting it on one sheet. So now when I try to go through there, I can go through and I know when I'm on the first one right here. I haven't decided which is going to be right and left yet, but if it's like somebody else would be working on it, they might be standing just the way I am with the coin door over here. So I imagine this would be right and this would be left, because on the schematic it has the for the G.O.RE relay A, and sometimes unlabeled, they would have switch 1R. Then they'd have switch 2R, switch 2L. So in other words, it's got to be right and left, because it has these two, there's 2 switch stacks for each relay. So therefore they'd have to identify them on the schematic. So I think to tell then, because if one switch stack's supposed to have 2 make and breaks and another one has 2 normal, or not one at all, then I can try to tell which one is which. So the way I got it here, the G.O.RE relay has a make and a break on switch on 1 on the right and switch 2 on the right, and a normal switch for on the left for switch 2, and then it's like that all the way down, different combinations. So I'm going to put this on pause and I'm going to do the research, and I'm going to try to find out if when you face it on the edge of the machine, G.O.RE relays being near the coin box where they're mounted on the machine, and this is the head side over here, which would be the second batter and the second coin. So the way you're facing it, I'm thinking this is right, that's left, right, left, right, left. And so I'm going to go right away to the I think it's the match relay that only has one stack. It's a tilt relay, it says here, has 1R, 1R and 1L, so that's 2 stacks. Here's the match relay. It has, everything says left. And I look over here and look at the R's missing. So everything's on the left, so that pretty much proves that that's probably how they do it. But I don't have a tripod for this yet, so I'm gonna shut this off while I check some switches, because whatever I got on this paper then, right here, should be what I find on there. And if they're all set like that, all I have to do is file them and screw the swing back down, and this thing should work the way it's supposed to. All right, pause. I hope I didn't just do the pause button wrong and miss that whole 10-minute spiel on these switches. Well, I'm going to do this shorter now so that I could go and look. So what I've got is a 1958 shortstop by Williams. I didn't have any lowercase. I got the guts here of the lower cabinet mechanical parts. The 12 relays. There's 12 over there. That's the strike unit here in the middle near the score motor, the horizontal cam, and the transformers there, the buzzers there. He did give me the coin door with both of the 200 National slug rejectors in it. It does have the wiring up until the end of these. Up until the ending of these, the old style. The old style with it like that. And so for the head, I've gotten these. I've got 3 of these, and so these aren't going to work. These, you can see these are newer ones. They're not going to work. But now that I got these, and I don't have my adjustments for this side for to match things. So see if I have a picture of that here. I do. The adjustments would be this for manually resetting the high score, and then you'd have 1, 2. They're between these poles, and it's just telephone plugs. Same over here. It's not all on the paper, but there's 4 of them. One's for the high score replay, one's for the match replay, one's just all replays, and the name replay, which is the Grand Slam, how they keep track of Grand Slams on the shortstop deluxe in 58 instead of like the 57 that just gives you the amount of Grand Slams. They make you light up the names in the word shortstop. They even count the dash. So yes, I bought this stuff off the internet with no head, and I did use these leftover cabinets, but I had to guess the length. Of course, I could guess the width. I did get the Running Man. Got it sitting on top of this refrigerator, but did get the Running Man. So with the Running Man, I was able to cut these grooves at the width, and so then I had the width for the cabinet, but I didn't have the depth. I did get the bells, although the metal plunger is missing out of one of those. And then I did buy some parts. They were expensive because that's what people do when they part out a machine. So I got an extra score motor, and with this extra score motor, I was able to go through every single switch. This extra score motor is exactly in perfect condition working. It's got the 3 cam levels, the bottom one that does all the pulsing. It's got 5 notches in 4 places, so 20 pulses in a 360 degree. Top cam to come to home position does have to go in 360 degrees. If you try to turn this backwards, you wreck the switches. They count 1 where the motor is. That's the index, so it's pretty close to being in the index right now. Then they go directly across. Don't ask me why they do that. Instead of just starting by the index and counting the way around, they jump across. They jump across to this switch stack, name it 1. Then they do these in order, 2, 3. Then you're back to the index. And there are 5 switch stacks, and they count again. They go back up near 1 and go back to the 10 o'clock position to get 4, and then switch stack 5. So you got 1, 2, 3. Well, you got the index for home position, so that's kind of like pre-1. Or it's home. It's just home position. And they start 1, 2, 3, go up to 10 o'clock, 4, and then finish at the 8 o'clock position. That's just the way they do it, and there isn't sometimes there isn't 3 stacks on every one. You see, the index position doesn't even have 3, and there's 3 positions. There's 3 positions that only have 1 switch stack. Position 3, position 5, and position 1. Only 1. 5. Only 1. So, and 3. Only 1. 3 is on the center one. 5's on the top one. 1's on the top one. And that is the one thing, except for number 3, being in the middle cam, the top one seems to have one in every spot. And there's number 4. It's got all 3 stacks. The bottom one really only has stacks on the index, and of course the one with all of them, which is 4. Let's see, and 2 has the top in the middle, but doesn't have the bottom. But that's a score motor. I tried rewinding this. It came. He said it was a good motor. It came, and it had the wires broke where you couldn't get at them. They were way down it. He'd had to unwind the whole thing to get the end of the wire. But I rewound and it did work, but it was just a trial thing. Then, since the back box was all missing, and I got a back box where it's the real one actually, and the glass, well, I'll have to repaint some stuff. But it didn't have the relays that work with the score motor for resetting and scoring the reels. And you'd have the red reels in the middle, for the high score. They only go up to 45. One row only has up to 4. Then it has the white reels on each side for the home and for the visitor. And then it has the, which I had to buy all separately off the internet from people that part out 1960 era machines. They always had to be Williams. I had to get the match unit, the strike stepper, and the replay wheel. So I had to buy all these separate parts, and then since there's going to be no female plug for these things, unless I can find, I doubt that I'm going to find anybody, so I'm going to have to make those. I'm going to have to make these things with little pieces of steel and try to copy just what they did. And once I get some pins, then I found this place in Madison, Wisconsin that'll sell striped wire. Forgot the name of it, but I got the name from Pinside. I don't know. For this little project, I doubt I'm going to buy $400 worth of wire, so I have every kind of stripe there is, so I could do it according to the schematic. So then I have to wire all that. Why? So I've got the lucky part is this schematic where other ones don't show it. They show what all the colors are and where all these pins go to on all these. So, well, wait a minute. It's these that I didn't have that I would have had to build. But since I got these are going to take these plugins. So that's right, I got it much easier now since I was able to find these, and these are hard to find. Because this style, you try finding this style, and I had to have it in the 9, the 10, and the, I think it's 12. So now I can just solder right on to these lugs to run them up to the steppers. But it's a project that I'll probably never ever finish. But at least I've studied all these. Switches on the whole machine. From those, and I found when I do this index relay, it's froze up, but all the rest worked. And I oiled all these last year, these steppers, and the only one that still works is this one. The rest got gummed up already. So, and I used that Teflon stuff, so I don't know. Anyway. Anyway, I'm going to end this video, and I got to get doing some work on these, cleaning up these switches.